I am so glad that I am dusting off this sabbatical video diary series during a time that I needed the reminder. I needed the reminder of what it takes to heal myself, what it takes to reset, what it takes to level set, all those things. And I've taken a quick peek at the titles of the next few video diaries, and I feel like they're messages from the past for current day Amy. So that should be interesting. This first one, I think, should be a fun one, should be a light one. And it reminds me that I need to intentionally take time for joy. I need to intentionally take time for adventure. And I'm usually quite good at that. But sometimes when things get tough, or I feel like there's things that are weighing on me, or I have problems on my mind, or stresses that I'm dealing with, I tend to forget to intentionally plan for joy. So I'm going to see exactly what this particular vlog says, but let's take a look. Day 71, my solo Broadway adventure. Oh, Broadway Dance Center. This is where I took dance back when I lived in Manhattan. Looks like I am just sharing some various views of what I'm experiencing that day in New York City. Hello everyone, it's Amy coming at you live from Midtown Manhattan. I had a blog topic, but I'm so taken up with today's adventure that it's not the time for my blog topic. I think I'm going to do a Carlos Whitaker style blog and sort of show you a little bit of what I'm seeing. So I am on West 46th Street, which has always been what was Restaurant Row way back in the day when I lived here. Don't Tell Mama is still here, which is pretty cool to see. So I'll take you on my trip to the theater today. Hold on. Even though I don't like crowds and noise, I love New York. I love Manhattan. Oh, this is the day I went to see Six. Such a fun show. This was the first time I saw Six. I've seen it a few times since. Oh, some rooftop that I had dinner at after the show, I think. No idea what the name of it was. As you can see, I'm a terrible vlogger. Beautiful. I don't remember what that tasted like. Looked good. This was 4 years ago. (2022). wasn't the first time that I saw the big section of Times Square like blocked off like this, because it had been a while since I'd been there. My old apartment building from when I first graduated from college, so my early 20s when I was a
Okay, as I wrap
starving
up my vlog for
actress.
today, here's the New York City apartment that I lived in with Andrea and Sherry 34 years ago. Did say 501, but the 0 and the 1 are missing. Corner of 47th and 10th. We were on a 5th floor walk up, way up there. We were here for 1 year, but a very memorable, impactful year it was. So as I wrap up my adventures for today, what I wanted to share, I started to talk about it earlier and then part of my video got deleted, but a lot of people are hesitant to do things on their own. And I have to say that there is beauty in taking adventures by yourself. And while it can be scary and a little awkward at times, it also can be fun. So for today, I drove into the city on my own, found parking. I had booked Broadway tickets. I had, set up reservations at a couple different places to explore some different places. And yeah, so I went to a play by myself and loved every minute of it. Got to really enjoy the art, enjoy the performances. It was fantastic. Went to a coffee shop by myself, went to a bar by myself, etc. And I don't feel awkward. Even when I go to check in for the table and they're like, oh, table for just one, or are you meeting other people? And I have to say, nope, just me, whatever. I don't let it bother me. Years ago it might have bothered me, it doesn't anymore. I enjoy the time. I like to people watch. I like to soak up the local flavor. Sometimes I'll listen to music or listen to podcasts or scroll on my phone or read, whatever. But I find that it's really great time. And I've had a fabulous day here in what I once considered my city. And I think I'm always going to consider it my city and always going to consider myself a New Yorker, even when I don't live here. But all I'm saying is if there are things that you love to do that give you joy, but you just don't have someone to go with you, or even if it's not that, even you just want to enjoy it on your own, go for it. Do it. I highly recommend it. Have a good day, everybody.
Awesome. Awesome. Oh, yeah. I'm so glad that I talked about. So this topic became a podcast episode a couple months later that I did with one of my besties, Wendy. I'll try to link that episode in the show notes of this video. And I'm glad I was talking about solo adventures and doing things on my own. And I still really, really enjoy doing things on my own. Sometimes I prefer it to doing it with other people, and sometimes it's out of necessity. I do get a kick out of how various people respond to it and handle it. Restaurants still, like, some are better at it than others. It's interesting how prevalent the just one comment from hostesses is. I take special note of that. But I just yesterday when I went in, I had breakfast by myself and I went in to the hostess and I said, table for one, please. I held up the number one. So I guess she didn't feel the need to say just one back to me. So maybe I'll keep doing that. But they just often say just one, like no, one. So, but they still have not. Most restaurants have not gotten better at, like, they still tend to give me the worst table in the house. And sometimes I say something about it, sometimes I don't. Or they will, this happened to me not that long ago, where the restaurant was pretty much empty. There were two parties in the entire restaurant. And the parties they were like a little bit apart from each other. And then they sat me at there was like a table, a full family of like I don't remember if it was 4 or 6, but at a large table. Then right next to that table, to the point where it could have like been pushed over, right next to it was a two-seater, a two-top, which is obviously where I usually get sat. But they sat me right next to that table when they were like the whole restaurant was empty. And I was a hostess in a previous life, so I do understand the trying to like rotate around stations and when you only have people covering certain stations. I remember the logistics of it, but I do think that the comfort of the guests should also be considered. So that was, but I've grown so like strong, resilient around it. Like it doesn't bother me. So, I just went about my day and did my thing. But anyway, glad I was talking about that then. Solo adventures are not new to me. I've done it for a really long time. I've gone on solo vacations many times, usually like a wellness kind of a thing, or not usually going to unknown, unfamiliar, or uncomfortable places. Usually, if I'm doing that, I'm meeting up with people that I know. But I'm always open. My good friend Brandy Carroll at Brandy Beyond It, which I've talked about here before, she just finished sharing her 6-week solo adventure where she visited like 14 different countries, most of which she had never been to before, and loved it. I loved watching that, and I know that she's got more adventures to share with us on that. So this was good to see because it was a good reminder of being intentional about incorporating the joy into your life, into your day, and don't let the heaviness get you down. Don't let the problems become the main focus. We're still out here living our life. Life is short. I have two peers in my social circle who have passed in recent weeks around around my age, and it's just a very strong reminder of life is short, and we are given each and every day to soak up all that we can, to connect with the people that we love, to connect with the outdoors. I think I mentioned at the top of this video that I'm, feeling the weight of some things, and that's why some of these sabbatical videos have been good for me. I've definitely been feeling the weight and the stress and some worry. And yesterday I took a page out of my sabbatical lessons and spent the entire day outside. I was outside. I can only get like a little bit of sun because I'm so fair skinned, but I sit in the shade to feel the breeze, and then make sure I do get some time with some sun on my face. And I went for a swim and swam, and it felt so good. And I journaled. So I got so much out. I literally dumped onto my journal all the things that are weighing on me. And I don't know. I think I've mentioned here before that journaling for me is a form of prayer, and it's also a form of communicating with my higher self, my spiritual guides, God, Jesus, whatever your name is for that power that's greater than you. My way of connecting with that is through journaling. So I wrote out a lot of questions. I wrote out what what do you want to tell me right now? What do I need to know? So I wrote out what was weighing on me, and then waited to see what came. And one by one, one by one, each thing that was weighing on me became lighter. Answers came, reassurances came, solutions came. Reframing, corrections of false things that I was carrying. So I share that. Sorry. I share that to just why do I share that? It's not a one and done situation. You don't take one rest or one sabbatical and go through one transformation and you're done. You just add to your toolkit. You just expand your perspective. You expand your resources. Hopefully, you're learning your lessons, but you learn what it takes to fill yourself back up again. And it's not going to just happen once in your life, and that's okay. That's part of living is, you know, I've had several times in my life where I've gone through turmoil and turned things around and pivoted and started over. And just each time you just come on the other side of something bigger, more beautiful, more meaningful. And I have to remind myself of that because when you're in the thick of it, when you're in it, when you're in the discomfort, when you're in the worry or you're in the anxiety or you get knocked around by a certain challenge, it can be really hard to see the other side of it. And it can be really hard to remember that you are expanding and evolving and growing. And so that's why I'm just glad I got to dig into my sabbatical toolkit and getting out in nature, moving my body, journaling. Those are some of the things that help me. And I had to make myself do it. And it worked. Love to hear from you, what you do. Hope you're doing well, but just a reminder that if you're not, grab something out of your joy jar, something that fills you up, and intentionally make a plan to do it this weekend. My name is Amy Palmer. I am your Gen X big sister. This was day 71 of my summer sabbatical series. Have a good one.